Shumai and Boreda, how are you guys doing? Today we are going to be checking out a crucial site for tracing the steps of human history. And yeah, it starts here in Wales. I parked here in Pilton Green, which is not too far from Rosili. And this is going to take us down, this walk will take us down past some very rocky terrain, and it will lead us to a cave that is home to the oldest ceremonial burial site in Europe. So I'm very excited to check this place out. And you know, I live literally 20 minutes away. I've lived here for the majority of my life, but I've only recently come to learn that such an important part of human history exists right here on my doorstep. So yeah, I'm excited, and I don't know the exact way to get down there, so we're going to figure that out together. Let's go. So that right there is where I parked, and we want to find this little post right here and head down this path. So it looks like all you have to do is follow this field all along. I popped out down there. Help yourself to some berries if you like. I think you literally just follow it down to the coast, I think. I thought this is a cornfield, yeah. These are all, check that out, pieces of corn. That's cool. So you do have this little footpath down here, but I believe we just keep going past the cornfields. Very sweet. So the first excavations took place in 1822, and a year later a professor from Oxford came, and his name was William Buckland. Now, he came to the Gower and he searched this cave, and he found the remains of a skeleton. His first belief was that this skeleton came from a customs officer and was killed by pirates or smugglers that once sailed the seas of the Gower. Now, after that, he changed his mind. He decided, no, this was actually a Roman woman, possibly a prostitute or a witch. Little did Mr. Buckland know that what he had just found was going to prove to be a very important role in understanding human history, especially human history here in Britain. I might have to get out of the corn to finish this story. But yeah, the latest studies actually go on to show that this skeleton was not that of a witch or of a female at all. This skeleton was of a man in his mid to late 20s and was buried there from 31,000 BC. So to put that into perspective, here in our little corner of the world in Wales, there is a man that was buried here 33,000 years ago. And this remains as the first ever human fossil to be excavated. I didn't even know we had so much corn in Wales. I don't think I've ever been in a cornfield. But I will tell you that after travelling for a long time, I'm very, very glad that I live in Wales, that I get to call this place home, because it is gorgeous. So much nature and, you know, rich history here. And I think if I was going back to maybe a big city or something, then I would probably want to be getting out of there much sooner. But because I live here, I'm happy to relax and take things a lot slower. So I popped out the cornfield, opens up into a nice big field down here. And once you find this, I believe the direction is to come through this gate and slip down so that we can go down that way. So this is some of that rocky terrain that I was talking about. I do not know how it goes from here, but I did see people like up the top somewhere. And when I parked my car, there were people that came with these big ropes, I assume for abseiling. I don't have ropes, so this is going to be maybe a big challenge, maybe not. But I do see the ocean right there, so that is a sign that we're heading in the right direction. Now, part of the reason that this skeleton is so fascinating is it was covered in something called red ochre, which is basically a mineral that when mixed with water or mixed with a liquid will create a paste. And this paste is used as paint. So red ochre can be found literally across the entire world. And when you think of prehistoric cave paintings, your imagination usually is first going to go to this red paint that we see in history books and media. Now, red ochre has been used for thousands and thousands of years for, body paint, symbolism, rituals, and for the very earliest signs of human creativity and art. If you look at, there's a cave in Spain, El Castillo cave, and you can see an example of the cave paintings using this red paint, and this dates back to around 40,000 years ago. Now we're gonna just head down this path and all the way down to the sea. It does get a little bit more rocky. Be careful of your footing, come with some good footwear, and I think you'll be just fine. Us humans are rooted in stories. We have been documenting and telling stories for an incredibly long time, and that's why things like cave paintings even exist. And while today we are no longer, painting mammoths and depictions of human life on the side of caves, we still tell and share stories every single day. It's a fundamental part of who we are. In fact, I'm telling you one right now. So I don't have waterproof shoes on right now, so I'm just gonna scale this rock and walk across, and then hopefully we get a bit of a better angle further down there. Look how cool these formations are. Little divots in the rocks. And you can see it's really raw and rugged. Now Wales, when you come to places, when you come to places like this, you are reminded of what raw nature looks like. And I think it's very similar to that you can find in New Zealand and even some parts of Iceland. Whew. Oh. This is a little bit strenuous to get through this, but it's nothing too difficult. Whew. Okay, so we have a dilemma, I think. So where I need to go is where this water is coming in. And it doesn't look shallow enough, like I could put my foot in, but maybe it's too deep, I don't know. And the tide is not yet at its lowest point. I think there's still about 40 minutes to go. So I think I'm just gonna sit around and wait for it to drop. Hopefully it goes a little bit lower, and then we can scale up this rock. And the cave sits somewhere up here. I mean, it's a nice view for sure. And there is nobody around, it's just me. Woo! I don't know how well the camera is picking this up, but look at the color on that water. And you can see all across here, it's literally like so much life is in there. It's like a little, a little biosphere. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is right where I need to cross. And the water does look a little bit too deep. So I think, I'll go sit up here, chill out in this little cave. So while I sit here and fingers crossed the tide goes out, I'm just waiting for it. Fingers crossed it will, like I said. I really would like to go up and see this cave, but I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about the skeleton. So William Buckland, the man who found this, as I mentioned earlier, he believed it to be the ruins or the skeleton from a Roman female. And the reason for that is up the top of the cliffside here, there were Roman ruins. Now, that's an indicator as to why he believed that, but also because of what was found with the body. There were these ivory rods and rings that were possibly used for artistic or maybe ritualistic purposes, but almost certainly not used for hunting or tools. And there were also 2 handful of shells that were next to the body. So I think he kind of saw this skeleton that was painted in red and this, possibly jewelry, and attributed it to being a woman. And that's where it gets the name, the Red Lady of Paviland, or locally known as the Goat's Hole. But the red paint found on this skeleton, as well as the items found with it, leads some people to believe that this man was related to shamanism, possibly a leader. And so the belief behind that is that red ochre is often used in ritualistic purposes, and the ivory items and the shells found with the body could very well be tools used or related to shamanism. The truth is that we don't know why this person was buried there, and we don't know the role that they had in the world. But what we do know is they were given a very careful burial and were buried with some precious items. The skeleton that was found was actually incomplete, so the skull as well as several other bones are missing. But the ones that do remain and that we have been able to kind of understand and research tells us that this man was healthy. And when we wind the clock back 33,000 years ago, we are in the Paleolithic period, and this is when hunting and gathering was the way of life. So this man could very well have been out there hunting, mammoths or game with his people and have got killed in the process. And, his people maybe decided to bury him right here. If that is the case, I don't have an answer for the red paint or for the things that were found alongside his body. And the truth is that this will probably always remain as a mystery. Now, the tide is still not all the way out, and the timing has to be very, very well here. So I'm going to go over and look and see if it's possible for me to walk through this and to get up and get back down before, it comes all the way in. It actually looks like it is still too high to cross. You can see that water is not low enough if I throw in. Yeah, man, I don't think we're gonna get in there today, which is actually very disappointing. Actually, saying that, now I've come across and I have a better view. It's actually not deep at all. I think we can get there. I'm pretty sure we can get there. Okay, I've made the decision. The trousers are rolled up, the socks have come off, the shoes will remain on, just because I think walking over these rocks is going to be a little bit too difficult, especially when I have to scale up there. And there is pretty much no room for error here. So as long as the tide stays the same, the same height, I will be okay to get back on our way back down, and it should remain the same. Okay, we're going for it. Water is now up to my knees. Whew. Okay, and we made it. Whew. I am absolutely soaking wet. I can see it. Up there is the cave. Wow, let's go. This is extremely exciting if you are into, archaeology and history of humans. This is a good place to be for sure. The climb up here is not the easiest, but it's okay. That's it, right there. Wow. And this is the view that we have. Incredible. Okay. Wow, look at this. Whew. So you can see people have made, there's some sand here, and people have made a fire pit, it looks like. The remains of some firewood is there. And we can actually go all the way back into this cave. Wow! It's very big and spacious. Surprising, actually. It's a very nice open space. And you can, like I said, go all the way to the back here. Whew! See some cobwebs up in here. Now, I think at the back of this cave, water does not come in this far. Look at that. So I have actually read that some people stay in here. They camp overnight. So I assume that water only proceeds into maybe the beginning of the cave. And look at the shape on that. That very much to me looks like, a pear, or even actually Sri Lanka. It looks like the island of Sri Lanka. Very special indeed. So I'm not exactly sure where this skeleton was found. I think 33,000 years ago, I believe only half of this cave entrance was visible. And like I said, I'm not sure where the skeleton was found. We can see up here this is a natural chimney. And what we also know is that later excavations were taken out in this cave, and up to 4,000 stone tools were found here in cave deposits in here, and some of which date back to the Neanderthals. And that means that where I'm standing right now, here in this cave, at some point in time, very well, there could have been another species of human, which is absolutely mind-blowing. The fact that tools have been found here and they vary in age suggests that humans have been in this cave through many different periods. And like I said, this could have been a ritualistic site, it could have been a pilgrimage site, or it could have been a cave that is just situated in a good location. So of course, right now we have this gorgeous view of the ocean, but the caves here in the Gower, the limestone caves and you know the rock cliff sides, date back to around 330 million years old. And the time of this burial site, around 33,000 years ago, this was actually not an ocean at all. See, 33,000 years ago was during the last period of the Ice Age. And that means that the water levels were much, much lower. And when we look out into this cave, if we were here as a 33,000 years ago as a hunter-gatherer, what we would actually see is a vast grassland that would, you know, be the home for mammoths and saber-toothed tigers and bison and all of this game, along with our Homo sapien counterparts. Now, of course, this cave provides an absolutely excellent view of what would have once been the hunting grounds, and so that would have been a really big advantage for, you know, the hunter-gatherers who would often track game over very long periods of time. But the idea that where I'm standing, you know, right here in this cave, at some point, you know, has just been, throughout human history, people have been here. That is like so fascinating to me. Now, it's believed that after the burial here, the temperatures continued to drop, and that means that the ice sheet spread throughout Wales and a lot of the UK. And that basically led to man abandoning Great Britain for periods of time. And so that could have meant that our friend buried in here could have been left alone for thousands and thousands of years. But no longer. His remains are now in a university in Oxford, and a lot of the items that were found with the skeleton can actually be found in Swansea University or Swansea Museum, as well as one in Cardiff. You can see the cave behind me right there. What a cool place. And yeah, I am very mindful of the time. I do not want to get stuck out here. You can see there's a smaller little cave right next to us, which we'll go and take a little peek in, but it's I don't know if there's any significance to this. It's just a kind of little hole. But yeah, Paviland Cave or Goat's Hole, it's definitely a place worth checking out if you're into archaeology, human history, all of this, like, or just nature, you know. Throughout my travels, I have enjoyed spending time in caves, and particularly in Laos. That was yeah, incredible. But here, right on my doorstep, is an incredible little piece of history, and yeah, a beautiful place to come. I'm going to scramble now down there, get back before the tide starts coming in, and yeah, we'll see you down there. It does look like the tide has come in a little bit, but still going to be okay to get across, I think. Okay, it is now all the way up. The water is all the way up to my hip, but it's okay because it's all part of the fun. Woo! We made it. The tide was definitely coming in. I came back at the right time. I am drenched, but all in the name of history and curiosity and exploration. Worthwhile. I have made it back up to safety. You can see the water down there, scrambled up to the top, and yeah, I think it's just so fascinating to me and mind-blowing actually that this was always here. Like this was always at home, you know. It took me traveling throughout the world, throughout Asia, to understand that I had a passion for history and archaeology, but this site right here, as I mentioned previously, was or is the first record of a human fossil being excavated, and it's also the first kind of sign of a ceremonial burial site across Western Europe. So it's absolutely one of the most significant sites of Paleolithic history in Great Britain. It gives us a really good insight into our hunter-gatherer ancestors and how they had, you know, rituals and complex social behaviour. This is not the place that you want to get stuck. As I mentioned, you have a very short window to get in and explore the cave and get back down. Also, I didn't see anyone when I was down there, so I would also recommend, you know, come with someone, or at least tell people where you are and how long you are expected to be there. But yeah, absolutely gorgeous place. I am very happy that I came to check this place out. Again, you can see just the rugged, rich beauty of beautiful, beautiful Gower. So I think I'm gonna head up there so we can get a nice little overview and a look at the ocean. Woo! Look at that! Beautiful. Paviland Cave is somewhere down there. Now this is not the type of place that you want to slip and fall, so be very, very careful up here. But you can just imagine, you know, as I was saying, back in Paleolithic times, this was not here, the ocean was not here, meaning that we would right now be having a view of, you know, like I said, mammoths and these different wild animals that would be roaming throughout here, which is super cool. And again, you can see a pretty big drop down there. And as we pan around, we just see this green richness all around us. And this is Wales. Wales is a country full of green, full of ocean, full of these mountains and stories and folklore. This is absolutely a country where you can get lost in. And even though it's small, it's very rich and diverse. So if you've ever thought about coming to the UK, don't forget about Wales. There is far more to the UK than London. Woo! What a special, special place. Yeah, I feel a real strong connection to this country. I'm half Welsh, so that makes sense. But I'm also half Sri Lankan, and the first time I ever visited Sri Lanka, I also felt this, you know, this deep connection to the people and to the land. But yeah, as I said, I feel that here too. You know, Wales, the druids, the mystery, there's something very special about this country, and the nature here is just magnificent. We have national parks like Rewrote, or in English, Snowdonia, which, to be honest, sounds or is just as beautiful and mystical as it sounds. And the funny thing is, like, so many people have never even heard of the country. So yeah, I'm glad that I'm able to show you guys a little sneak peek of the history here and the beauties here. And yeah, like I said, this place is definitely not for everyone, and I haven't done anything that's out of my comfort zone. This is very much the things that I do, and I do kind of often, and I'm confident in my abilities to do things like this and to be going to places like this. But I was also very cautious of the time. So if you come here, please, of course, you know, respect the nature and everything like that. But also, please, please, please be careful and check the tide times, as I mentioned. Now, I'm going to wrap up the video. I'm going to chill out on top of this hill for a little bit and then head back to the car. But yeah, I'm glad I've been able to bring you guys along for this journey of uncovering the history and the mystery of the Red Lady of Paviland. What do you guys think? Do you think that he was a mystical person? Do you think that he was simply a hunter-gatherer that was just buried here? Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always, and I will catch you in the next one.